All right, welcome to another song title challenge where the question is, climbers, how should you write this one? Say it with me. Write, W-R-I-T. What's the right way to write? Oh,
Yes.
this is an episode where listeners of this podcast, climbers, send in their song titles to info@daredevilproduction.com. Production is singular. There is no S. info@daredevilproduction.com. Put song title challenge or STC in the subject line. That makes sure it gets into the right folder. If you don't, it won't.
If you put STD, it goes into a different folder.
That's right.
So
I'm telling you, like, listen, I get tons of crap, and I systematically eliminate emails like a ninja. And if it's not clear what it is, it's going in the garbage. So I want your title to get in the right folder. So make sure you let me know what it is. Then what we do is invite a cool ass hit songwriter to come on and join us to cook up 5 or 6 different conceptual angles on how to write that title. You can use all of what we say. You can use none of what we say. It's okay. We do demand an invite to the number one party. And I also put in there should be an open bar for Johnny.
And childcare for Brent.
And childcare for Brent. That's right. and then he can bring his wife.
Yeah, exactly.
But this is just a fun, creative exercise, guys. The idea behind this is to show you that the first idea that comes to you about a title is almost always not the best way to go. Sometimes it is, but if you spend 15 or 20 minutes digging down through the dirt, through the gold in the copper and get to the diamond, you're going to find that really cool angle. And when you get everybody in the room that just is hopped up on that angle, that conceptual idea, the song practically can write itself. You know what I mean? It just makes it a lot more fun, a lot easier. And it's the difference between a song and a good song, or a good song and a great song, right? And
that's right.
Not only that, but this has more pragmatic benefits, if you will. This is a great way to revive old hooks in your hook book and breathe new life into them, right? So, I mean, Brent went back 4,000 hooks in his hook book, and as humans, it had enough energy in the idea when we wrote it down in the book. It deserved to be in the book, but then for whatever reason, I can't really understand why we are like this as Homo sapiens. But if we don't give it enough due diligence and enough attention in a certain amount of time, our human algorithm is like, meh, and it's like wilted lettuce, and we move on. But when you go back and spend just 15 minutes going over this old hook, all of a sudden, pow, you're like, and it breathes new life into it. And then what happens, Brent? What happens when you do that, Brent?
Good stuff. Good stuff happens. So, I mean, I have a song that's right. I mean, your mileage may vary. But yeah, man, I've gotten several cuts off doing my own personal song title challenge. We're having so much fun doing this on the show, and I was getting such good results for other people that I was like, I got to do this for my own stuff. So I started going back through, like Johnny said, like 4,000 titles. And I've gotten several cuts off titles that were like thousands of titles old and would have been totally forgotten and neglected just because who has the time to go through all those? But, I'm making time, and it's a part of what I do, and it's an important part of my process. So I highly recommend it.
Don't let your titles be orphans. Let them grow up to be something. Right. So you want to introduce our guest today? Because we're excited. We've been chasing her down for a long freaking time, man, and we finally got her. We finally got her to say yes.
Yes. Well, it turns out I was asking also through a wrong phone number. We discovered that last night. So take back all those things.
Whoever that other person is,
at least tell me wrong number.
Just disregard everything. Yeah, new phone. Who dis? Right?
Exactly. Come on, give me one of those. Oh, so yes, today's guest and I we go back a long way, and then we stopped going back, and then we just picked up recently. It's one of those. So she is an old co-writer of mine, but she's not old. So we go back a ways. We used to write together. She wrote the number one big hit single for Billy Currington, Good Directions. She's had cuts by Luke Bryan. She has, I think, 3 songs on a new project by Martina McBride, something like crazy like that, which is awesome. And she's just a hoot. And she's on the homeschooling spaceship like my family is. So I love that about her. But man, she's just a hoot. We reconnected last year in Denmark at the National Songwriters, whatever
National
that was called,
Nights.
National Nights International Songwriters Festival. Hadn't seen her in a long time, and she was there. I was like, I got to come to Denmark, and we got to reconnect. It was much fun. Rachel Thibodeau, welcome to the Climb.
Welcome.
Hi, guys. Hello. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for saying yes. That was awesome. And by the way, when it comes to your resume, may I just say, get your shots, climbers. Vulgar display of prowess.
Yes. Everybody.
You're sweet. You guys are
all right.
sweet.
So
that was
are y'all ready for this one here?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, never ever ready, but
all right. So this comes from.
Oh, and guys, I have to say, I'm not in a controlled environment, so you may hear my daughter yelling. You may hear the puppy barking. You may hear
nobody is. Sometimes I have a 150-pound Great Dane making his presence known with authority.
Yes. So you never know.
All right. So this is from a climber that we've used a title on before. So that's cool. Marla Rubenstein. Hi, Marla.
Oh, hey, Marla.
And the song title is Loose Ends.
Okay.
Loose Ends.
Loose Ends. Thank you, Marla, for sending that in.
Loose Ends.
So, Johnny, what's your hot take on this one? Johnny always gives a hot take, which gives me a second to process.
My hot take on this is I know there's a Bruce Springsteen song called this, but I don't know if I've ever heard a country song called this. So it seems such a common phrase, right? Or colloquialism or whatever. I mean, any gangster movie, go tie up the loose ends,
Right.
But I feel like it's at the same time, this could be broad because, and by the way, Rachel, I don't know if we told you this, but carte blanche, you can add anything before or after the title to twist up the meaning and have fun with that as well. Okay.
Yeah.
So, or something, like punctuation in between. Sometimes it's comma, like loose, comma, ends.
Yeah. When she got married and now loose ends. There we go. Somebody made an honest woman of her and loose ends. That's when loose ends. How's that? How's that to start it off? Now, Rachel, do you understand the assignment? This is how we roll.
Wow. Okay.
That's when loose ends.
Or for the guy too, So that's he found that woman, tied him down. So speaking of which,
but I think I'm interested to see where we go with this. Like I think it can be broad enough with those two words that there's a lot of things that we could attribute to loose or ends or loose ends.
Yes. So one of the first things I thought of, well, other than before that's when loose ends, but was like, the loose ends of the relationship that's the kind of the on again, off again is kind of never, didn't really have the closure. So there's still possibilities. So maybe it's like these kind of old flames going out, and something about like tying one on with loose ends, a couple loose ends tying one on.
Oh.
Because I'm thinking loose ends, like how do we tie them? And a second ago I said something about like tying down some loose ends, like maybe it's the old flame, like, and now they're like connecting and like, let's do this, tying down some loose ends or something.
Right.
That's a big part of, I think, trying to let the title write the song is going, okay, what's the opposite of loose ends, or how can you, how can we play off that to make it a thing? And so I think of tying them up, tie one on, tying them down. I don't know. Tying the knot,
Yeah. I immediately always go usually to a relationship. I mean, just probably, I don't know if it's because I'm a girl or whatever it is.
Human.
Yeah. So I would just immediately go to the things that whatever went wrong, how we can go back and tie those up and fix those things to make it right. That's where I would go, That would be my first thought. But like you said, the first thought is probably the wrong one.
You never know. Sometimes it's right. You just got to go around the block and go, okay, no, that was the right one.
You got to test it. Yeah.
You got to test it.
You got to get 5 more and then come back and go, I was right the first time. But
Yeah. I
Yeah.
usually don't try to be too clever with my lyrics. I mean, they're usually pretty straightforward. Like, I wouldn't try to make it, like, too songwritery. That's not what I would do, you
We
know?
had a
Good.
guest on Jeff Pardo, who's like Christian, like producer of the year, and he calls it finger guns. He's like, yeah, it's a little too finger guns, making
Right.
go, ah!
And there
Which
are some people who, yeah.
I
I'm
love
sorry.
that way,
Yeah.
but yeah, that's so.
Well, you know, I tell you what, like, okay, so here's a moment inside Johnny's life. I learned when I was trying to figure life out, did some therapy back in my 30s. You know, I learned there was like 4 kinds of relationships, right? 2 of them make good marriages, and 2 of them don't make good marriages, right? And when I went through that and identified that, because I had there was I was trying to figure out how to get closer to women. You know, I was having this was the problem that I went there for, to be perfectly honest. And there's a couple women in my life that just were really quality, great women, and they, but it was never going to work. And I was trying to figure out like why that wasn't happening, or you know, and put some stuff to it. And when I learned that the definition, right, of the relationships that don't make good long-term relationships, all of a sudden it just like freed everything up in my mind. It's like I realized like I'm trying to shove square pegs into round holes, right? Like I'm trying to take 90-degree corners with a minivan instead of a Ferrari, and it's not built for that. You know what I mean? So it was like all those loose ends got tied off, like because the loose ends were like kind of there. You made me think of that with the relationship thing, Brent, where you started there. Like they were clouding up, they were cluttering up my psyche and my ability to see something new for what it really is. And it took that sort of 30,000 foot definition to be like, oh crap, that's what it is. That's why I'm all stuck down here in the trees, in the forest of the trees. I can see my way out. So maybe tie off loose ends, you know?
Yeah.
Maybe it's time to tie off the loose ends. Like maybe you're the guy that's got the little black book and you're kind of a little bit of a player and you date around or whatever, but you know, you're a good guy. You're not like a jerk or anything like that. But then you meet her and now it's time to go tie off loose ends. Like you gotta
say no to many things so you can say yes to the best thing, kind of thing. Like, okay, I'm kind of the old burning the little black book kind of
Jerry Maguire
metaphor or whatever. Yeah.
I like that. And you can tie it up and you can even like singe it, you know, like you do.
I was thinking that too. With like some loose ends, you just got to burn them, right? So they stop fraying. And I'm like, is there a Taylor Swift song in there burning pictures and stuff? You know, like of burning the loose ends.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, which is like, oh yeah, they're not. That's like very final. You singe it, it's done, right?
Well, I so get that, like with past relationships in my life, because you know these things pop up and you think about them, or you like whatever, you know, and you just want it that gone, you know. You don't want them calling you, texting you, you know. You just want it done, you know. You want to, you know, have it be a final thing. So I totally get that.
Yes, so that.
Oh, it could be in that regard. It could be. What if it's like a okay, this is probably a bad example, but people are crazy, you know, where it's this somebody giving somebody else advice, right? And what if it's that, you know, maybe that's it. Like, hon, you got to get rid of the loose ends. Like, I think every human, especially the audience that we're writing for, which is a younger audience, needs to hear that, right? They need to be taught that. Like, okay, this is, if you're keeping this in your life, you're creating your own drama, right? Like you need to, like you need to tie off loose ends.
And I think also like the opposite. When I was younger as well, I had a hard time. Like, no, I need like closure. I need some sort of, you know, definite ending, yes, no kind of thing. And sometimes you just got to learn to live with loose ends. Like, oh, okay. And I like the L's.
I like that.
I'm taking plenty.
Live with loose
so
ends. That's good.
Going, sometimes you just don't get that person's going, I was wrong.
Right.
Or you just don't get the whatever that is, that would be the emotional closure for you. We probably all have those things.
Sometimes
And
you don't get to know how the clock works, but you just know what time it is.
yeah, and just like you just got to live with some loose ends, that thing, that maybe that relationship that never quite happened, that you're like, oh, we danced around it, it didn't, but we've moved on. And what could have been, could have been might be around for loose ends.
Mm.
All the never weres, all the bad, bad stuff, whatever, heartbreaks and could have been. Sometimes you got to learn to live with the loose ends.
Right.
It's all right to live with the loose ends. So, which could be like a nice service in a song. I've Chris Lindsay, who's been on this, and he said, yeah, and he was like, "What's the service in the song?" He said that before, like, "What's the point?" The kind of the so. I'm like, "Oh, I could see good service, like being a little therapist for 3 minutes of going, it's all right to live with loose ends,
Right.
and it's a little deeper,
also, like, it could be talking to that person, like, you didn't give me a choice. Like, I don't have a choice but to live with that.
Yeah.
Because maybe she wanted to tie up those, or he wanted to tie up those loose ends. But if somebody isn't, doesn't give you that option, then you just have then you have to learn to live with it.
Oh my God. Like, okay, hold on. What if the loose ends are like a heartbreak because she died?
Oh, I was thinking the same thing. I was thinking of Reba's song, like if I had known to have been our last walk in the rain, all this stuff. If I had known, like she has a song from the 8 Seconds soundtrack, which, by the way, 8 Seconds, that movie, Lane Frost.
Yeah.
Classic.
Amazing.
He's riding for Lane. Makes me cry every time. Anyway, I ain't scared about that. He's riding for Lane. Love that movie. But that could be the loose ends because you never got to say the thing. It could be a parent. It could be whatever, any sort of relationship that, like, oh, I'm going to have to live with this loose end because we never reconciled, or thank God, maybe do the positive side. Thank God that's not a loose end.
Right.
We could do the opposite side of that too, going, I'm so glad we said it.
Right.
It's kind of like,
yeah, I'm so sorry, but like I got to be there with my dad,
Yeah.
So there weren't any loose ends. So that's something I'm thankful for, that there weren't.
Oh, thank goodness.
Me too, with my mom.
What a gift. What a gift.
Yeah. And so, like, say I love you every time.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right,
don't leave any loose ends.
Right. Like always.
That alliteration again. Woo!
Yes. It's like tied with a bow, with an I love you bow every time.
Yeah.
So you wrap it in that little bow. Cause you think about the bow, it's also not like, loose ends is kind of instead of a bow. Every time.
Is there something in there? Describing like a bow or something? Like,
it's like
these are the kind of loose ends you want to leave.
Yeah.
You
can have a bow that has loose ends, but it's still tight.
But it's beautiful. It's pretty. It's a positive thing,
pretty loose ends, lovely loose ends.
Yeah, it's an interesting thing. Like even bows have a loose end. Like it doesn't mean it's like it's there by design. It's okay.
You can even end it beautifully.
Yes.
Tied in a bow, right?
Oh yeah. Yeah, the ribbon. We were talking about the dichotomy of like the ribbon and like how it's this beautiful bow, which signifies like the end, put a bow on it, the whole thing. But a ribbon has 2 loose ends.
Yeah.
Like, isn't that fascinating?
I really like that.
That's interesting because you think of a relationship. We had this beautiful thing, but there's still some loose ends. Like it didn't last forever, but that doesn't mean it wasn't beautiful. Even ribbons have loose ends, which feels like a very female song. I don't hear Eric Church going ribbons,
No.
With Philly lace.
Right.
No.
And they're pink.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I'm Eric Church. And I'm cool, but I'm manly enough to like pink frilly ribbons. Yeah.
Yes.
Well, lassos have loose ends,
Oh, here you go. A lasso has a loose end.
There you go.
I like that. That's funny. Okay.
Could there be a rodeo metaphor in there? Because that's certainly country. I mean,
you're talking about
country.
If you're calf roping or something, it's all about tying up the loose ends, right? Which are legs.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
Or cowboying. I mean,
yeah.
I
yeah,
think there's
cowboying.
probably a ton of references you could go cowboy. I probably wouldn't be your girl
Mhm.
for that, but I think there probably are,
Yeah.
Yeah,
and
I think for sure. Just because like you mentioned, like the lasso, the rope, and all that kind of stuff, and that could be the context for older cowboy telling the younger guy about not leaving loose ends, or
exactly.
if somebody knows that world, I'm
Yeah.
sure there's something in there. I don't
I
know that world very
I
well, so.
guarantee you, I think that there probably is there. Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah, there are a lot of so there are a lot of different angles to take it for sure. I think my favorite one is tying tying up the loose ends, in a beautiful way, I think
Hmm.
that's probably my favorite.
Tying up the loose ends in a beautiful way. Yeah. That just has the most elegance to it, that's for
Yeah.
sure.
So I think probably as
What
a
if
girl.
what
Yeah.
what if instead of, like, tongue in cheek with the loose factor, but what if,
Hmm.
when we're all like, what if it's like, you've heard Footloose and Fancy Free, right? What if
Hmm.
Footloose ends? That's when Footloose ends, is when you get out of your crazy 20s or whatever and into, trying to be a real human and create a meaningful relationship or something. It could be,
Yeah.
something down that road.
Loose ends. Loose ends. It's
Loose and fancy free.
Yeah, for some reason I think of like split ends with like hair. I'm like, is there something there? I don't know. I have no idea. Um, I
Rachel
mean,
would not be the girl for that either, because she does not have split it. She's got perfect hair
the
always, every
perfect.
time I see
So, yes, definitely, you're not the girl for that one either,
I actually do
Rachel.
need a trim. I do need
her.
There, it's out of frame. It's out of frame. Um,
it's out of frame.
it's all good. Just lean
Below the
in, but
fold.
no one can see.
Yeah.
It's below the fold. Yeah.
No, I'm on my computer.
There you go.
Not
Mhm.
working. I got it working on
Yeah.
my computer.
Okay, good.
Oh, perfect.
Mhm.
Um, so let's see here. Well, it's funny because out of frame makes you go, "Oh, is that a title?" Which is part of the fun of. I was on a coaching call with a couple clients, and he brought in this title of we song title challenge for like an hour and a half, just
Wow.
trying to find like something in that title. He's like, "I want to write this," and
Yeah.
at the end, we took that concept and we had to change the title a little bit. But it was from that concept of all that song title challenge we did for like an hour and a half, and then we wrote the second 30 minutes.
Well, isn't that it
You know,
always how it is? Like my
mhm.
favorite and the only way that I like to write is to sit down and talk and see what comes out of talking.
Yeah.
I mean, like we can all go to hooks and that's great. I think that's great to have. But
Hmm.
you know what I mean? Like it's like a safety net.
Yeah.
But for me, I always love to see like what we're supposed to write that day.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Like because I think there's something we're supposed to write. And I really
Mhm.
feel like a lot of times it just comes from talking, you know, in
Yeah.
the
Sure.
conversation, the song will reveal itself.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, well, and you're getting to somebody's going through something,
Yep. And
and
then maybe you have a hook that works exactly perfectly for that
yeah.
con
But
for
yeah, it's
whatever.
probably gonna start with the emotion then,
Yeah.
which is
That
a great place to start, and then you craft it so it's accessible to others, but otherwise it may go from like, "Oh, that's clever and finger guns," to like, "Oh, we got this crafted thing that no one really cares about."
it's very hard for me to attach emotion to a hook
Mm.
that way around. Like
Mhm.
unless the hook for me that when I wrote it down came from something I was feeling.
Yeah.
Mhm.
No, I think that's just part of my process, it's
Yeah.
Mhm.
I feel like I can, unless I go, "Oh god, yeah, I've lived that before."
Mhm.
Like, if you were to say a
Yeah.
title, yeah, I would go, "Oh, I have a perfect situation for somebody I know or myself. I've witnessed this or I've been
Yeah,
through it."
I've seen that movie, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And exactly. Right. Mhm.
Mhm.
Right. Yeah.
Well, I mean, like, I'm just trying to think of, any other way. I mean, we got a lot of good looks at loose
Yeah.
ends.
I wonder too, like, if you could do kinda like a book that I didn't finish, like, oh, there's a book I didn't finish or a movie I had to like whatever, never got to finish it. Like, dang, I hate loose ends. Like, you don't know
Mhm.
how it ended. And then, you know, now it's got me thinking about calling you. Or somehow you segue that, in an elegant way to like the relationship going, dang, I hate loose ends.
Right.
You know,
Like this reminder, this loose end that happened in my life reminded me of the biggest loose end, which is you.
Yes, exactly. So you're just kind of using that as a metaphor to get into, like, yeah, and that's us too. Dang, I hate loose ends.
Oh, I love that.
Like, damn, I did it again. I'm really bad at that. I'm really
Yeah.
bad at loose ends, you know, like doing
Yeah,
that.
what if it's somebody that always leaves loose ends? Like they just
Exactly.
they ghost, you know, and
Yes.
they're just really good at that.
Yeah. And that would, of course, be a guy.
Of course.
Because girls are never,
No.
they never misbehave, right, Rachel?
Yeah.
This is a guy song.
Yeah. If you think she's not responding, you just have the wrong number.
Right.
Literally.
Like when that happened, y'all, I was just like, because so you also on the podcast, Brent is reaching out to Rachel just to, you know, friendly reminder of like, we got this Thursday booked and he's excited. And so it's me and Brent and Rachel on the thread. And at first I saw your name on the text, right? I didn't open up the text. I saw your name and I just said, hey, Rachel, you said, hey, Rachel, you looking forward, blah, blah, blah. And then nothing. And then a couple days later, you try again and then nothing. And I'm like, then I opened up the text and like, I have Rachel's number in my phone with her name attached to it. And this one, just a random number. So I thought, I'm going to text Rachel and Brent and see what happens. And then, you know, 2 minutes later, we get a
text back from Rachel going, looking forward to it.
It's amazing how that works. And Brent's like, wait a second, I think I got that right.
Oh, it wasn't just about the podcast. Like Rachel, I talked about this song idea, you know, when we were in Nashville recently, she played out and she said some stuff. I'm like, oh, that's an idea. That's an idea. And she's like, we have to write that. I'm like, hey, I'm coming into town. Oh, it's one of those.
Sure, she really wants to write whatever.
Okay, yes, exactly. Well, I'm going to go write your story with somebody else.
Called the Thibodeau.
The Thibodeau dip. So, yeah, I'm like, oh, all of a sudden I recontextualize everything. It was like watching The Sixth Sense. At the very end, you're like, oh no, it was completely different than what I thought.
Never doubt me. Never doubt me.
Never doubt her power. Never doubt her power. Oh my God, that's great. Okay, so hold on. You gave me an idea on what sounds with this, because what if it's like what if it's I don't know if it would be a listicle, but it's a series of loose ends that sort of in a maybe a more upbeat, you know, fun way and less heavy way of like, God bless the broken road that led me straight to you, you know, like, or, you know, God closed the window, opens up a front door, or close the door, opens up a window, that kind of a thing, where it's like, I got all these loose ends, and you sort of spell out, like, if you're clever in the story, where you spell out all, it just sounds like you can make it sound like heartbreak and failure, and then it's like, and then this loose end led me right here, and wow, because isn't that really life?
Like what it led you to.
And it never goes the way you plan it. You know?
What is the thing, like the tapestry, like has all these different colors, and from the front it's beautiful, from the back it's all loose ends.
Right? Yeah, I love that. I love that.
Oh, that's nice.
That could be a thing. I mean, that could be like a God song, you know, like a CCM or gospel thing. It could be a pop thing, whatever, because tapestries are irreligious. But that thing of the front, it looks
perfect.
It's perfect. Everything's in place, all these different colors, they work together. And on the back, it is all these loose ends where they've just been tied up because it's the back. It's like, I'm living life seeing the back of it, God's seeing the front, and he's doing something beautiful. And from my perspective on things right now, till I get to the other side, right, which is metaphorically, like, it just all looks like a bunch of loose ends, but it's making something beautiful. So that could be a fun.
Just drop the mic and walk out of the room right now, Brent.
Gonna get another power surge. Just get me out of here.
You need power flicker so we can come up with some more ideas.
I was just Googling when I said the power went on. I was just like, find ideas. I was like, ChatGPT, give me a song idea about loose ends.
All right. Well, hey, that is the perfect one to end on, though. That we got some great looks at it. Rachel, you were wonderful. Thank you so much for saying yes.
Thank you.
You're welcome. It was my pleasure.
So, stuff going on with you. You have the Martina record that just came out. Tell us about that, and tell us where we can find you, follow you, all that good stuff.
Martina's Project 11, you can check that out. I have 3 songs on that. What You Gonna Do? You Can Get Your Lovin' Right Here, and I Give It to You. So please check that out. And also for your listeners, something really, since they're songwriters, I know that you probably encourage them to write by themselves, right? Okay, so I Give It to You, I actually wrote by myself and had given Martina the work tape of that, and I never even knew she had listened to it. And all of a sudden she texted me one day saying she's recorded it. So always keep writing, because
nice.
Such healing in that. And that was a very healing song for me at a difficult time in my life. So I think it's important to always keep writing by yourself. So that's my little 2 cents for that.
That's awesome.
Thank you. And then just follow me on social media, on Instagram. You can click my link tree and it'll say all of my upcoming shows. So I need to update that, but I have like 4 in the next couple months. So
awesome.
There you go.
And we'll put links and stuff in the show notes so you know how to spell Thibodeau.
Yes. Not easy.
Is that what is the origin of that name?
It's French.
Is that French?
It's
okay.
French. Mm-hmm.
It's French.
Yes, it's French. Parlez-vous français?
French fries, French bread,
French dip,
French dip, French Thibodeau. All right, guys, that brings us to the end of another song title challenge. Send your titles into info@daredevilproduction.com. Put song title challenge or STC in the subject line, and maybe you'll get a writer like Rachel Thibodeau on this show where we just like screw around for a half an hour and come up with some like really cool stuff, man. This podcast exists because we want you to win, so keep on climbing.
And we'll see at the top. I thought about not doing the thing I always do at the end, just to leave it as a loose end to be very meta, but I decided to button it up after all. I was thinking that's what that pause was.
Did you tie it with a bow that has
loose ends? There we go.